And I am Maria Schaff with the Office of Vital Records. I'm one of the field reps, along with my colleague Sally, who will be presenting this. So take it away, Sal. Thank you.
Morning. Get to the right spot here. Hi. So today we're talking about security paper and maintaining your security paper. And as always, Minnesota statute and administrative rule are the laws that govern what we do with Minnesota vital records, including the security paper that certificates are printed on.
Please make sure your microphone is muted. In the upper right-hand corner, you will see a camera and a little microphone just to the left of the leave button. Please make sure that there is a slash through both of those. Thank you.
Today, this class is focusing mostly on Statute 144.2131, Security of Vital Records, and Administrative Rule 4601.2500, Requirements for Certified Birth or Death Records. And before we go any further, today we're specifically looking at security paper, but each of us, and all of us collectively, are responsible for vital record security in all of its forms. Whether you're reminding a customer to keep their certificates in a safe place, locking that storage area, or making sure that only eligible people get certificates, you are playing an important part in our state vital record system security. Statute 144.2131 is all about the duties of the state registrar and the Office of Vital Records. We make sure that only the people who need it have access to the system and that they can only access what they need. We maintain the records and data, perform that birth-death match to protect the identities of deceased Minnesotans, and that last line, the overt and covert forensic security mentioned in the law, specifically applies to the features built into our security paper. Administrative Rule 4601.2500 requires this special paper. Security paper vendors negotiate with the Office of Vital Records, and our contract requires that each county buys directly from the vendor and gets the statewide large quantity purchasing price, no matter the size of individual orders. And I'm going to interrupt myself here to call out this very literal exception to the rule. Death records that were filed on paper are printed on plain white paper and then stamped or embossed to certify. Now back to that paper. Northstar Ameritech is our security paper vendor, and each county vital records office orders directly from them. Just so that you know, Northstar does notify the Office of Vital Records about each order, so you don't have to let us know. And Northstar should be your first contact if you have any problems with your order, so they can help you resolve it. Information about setting up an account for your county or office and ordering information is found on the MDH website for County Vital Records offices. Let's go there now. Starting from the Health Department website, go to Individual and Family Health, Vital Records for Professionals, County Vital Records offices, and then security paper for County Vital Records offices. All the information you need is here. There are, sorry, didn't mean to go that quickly. And I can make this be a little bit bigger for you. There's an order form here to set up an account. And how to resolve a problem with your order. Everything's all right here. And by the way, if you haven't bookmarked this page yet, why not? You should do that. You can bookmark it or favorite or whatever it's called on your browser up here at the top. So go back to where are we? There we are. Sorry. So now let's look closely at that paper, those overt and covert features that we were talking about. Our paper is manufactured and treated like money because the identity documents that are printed on it are valuable. The paper itself has visible and invisible fibers. The filigree border is full of microprinting, and even the security thread running up the backside of the paper is printed. Next time you handle a sheet of security paper, examine it closely. Use a magnifying loupe and a blacklight if you can, and see how many features you can find. But you don't need to look closely to see one of the most important security features, and that's that document control number, otherwise known as a DCN, and barcode that's plainly printed on each certificate right above the state seal. The DCN helps us securely track each piece of security paper. It's easy to think of MRNC, the Minnesota Registration and Certification System, as just the system for printing certificates. But the system is also an important part of your security too. When your office's order of security paper arrives, make sure the shipment of security paper is recorded under the Managed Security Paper feature, and then enter every sheet of it so the system can efficiently and securely track your paper use. This means keeping the system up to date by correcting DCN mistakes and reconciling your inventory regularly. Now, we all make mistakes, and avoiding document control numbers is how we account for these errors and maintain the security paper inventory. It's important to avoid a DCN number as soon as possible, but there's no need to rush to approve that voided number. Simply put a big ol' X across the page. Store it securely until you have time for a supervisor or colleague to approve the voided DCN. Please do not approve your own voids. It's just too easy to make a mistake and actually void your entire paper inventory. It's happened. Just to repeat, because this is important, void as quickly as possible, but don't hurry to approve voids. The DCN void approvals should be done without distraction, and this is an intentional two-person process, so get help. If you are an MRNC user with the administrative role, you can approve voids, and this is the screen you'll see when you look at numbers that are voided and pending approval. Hopefully yours won't look as bad as this queue in our training system, but it's worth pointing out that the system now shows the quantity of sheets you're approving, so you can compare it to the number of sheets of paper. Hopefully you'll have those sheets in front of you when you're doing the void. If the number in the quantity column doesn't match, simply click the Unvoid button to return the numbers to your inventory. Then you can start all over again. It may be obvious, but it's worth repeating. Security paper needs to be locked up at all times. Do not leave today's pile on a desk or in a folder, even if you count it each day. Security paper must be kept in a locked paper tray or in a printer in a locked room. There are a lot of ways to accomplish this. Let's talk about maintaining your inventory now. And maybe we should have discussed this earlier, because the best way to avoid voiding problems is to prevent the mistakes in the first place. Check your security paper order when it arrives. That doesn't mean opening each package. We don't recommend that, but look over each package to make sure that they're not damaged. Use a barcode reader to avoid data entry errors. That's a long DCN number, and it's really easy to transpose numbers. And use parent notices whenever possible to help ensure birth certificates have the right data. We've created some job aids to help you maintain your paper inventory. The first is this guide to help you correct a customer service request. You would use this if a number was entered incorrectly. MRNC reports were developed to help you monitor and maintain your security paper inventory. Use this guide to decipher the titles and uses for each of the reports. When you start a request and the customer is unable to get the certificate because the record is confidential or they forgot an ID or whatever, that unfinished request will stay in the work queue until you or someone with the administrative role manually closes it. Requests where DCNs are not assigned will also remain in the queue And you can use the Manage Work Queues and Requests instructions for help with that. So, where do we find these job aids? Back on that website. No. These are all found on the MRNC for County Vital Records offices. All of these user guides are here on this page.
Also, the link has been loaded in the chat.
Where are we going with all of this? Well, reconciling your DCNs with your paper inventory is an important part of security at each Vital Records office. In the Office of Vital Records, we can see which offices are managing their inventories well and which ones are falling behind. Right now, we have 16 county offices with more than 25 DCNs or 25 series of DCNs that need reconciling. Let's talk about how to clean them up. These instructions are specifically for the individual with the administrative role who is tasked with maintaining security paper inventory. But everyone can benefit from understanding the process and why it is so important. So let's start with the good news. If you reconcile regularly and frequently, this is a super fast and easy process. It's only when you get behind that it gets really onerous. To get started, have your processed applications handy. Those paper applications that you have in storage, know where they are and know how to get a hold of them quickly. If you are writing the document control number and date issued on each application, that's our best practice recommendation, and this is where those notes will come in really handy. Now, print the security paper tracking report. When you print the security paper tracking report, look only at unused DCNs. Each line in the report shows a range of DCN numbers, but it may be a range of just a single number. The big range of numbers at the very bottom of the report, the last line of the report, is your inventory on hand. The numbers on the report should match the supply in your office. We're looking at the lines on the report that print above this one, as they indicate numbers that didn't get assigned in the request or DCNs that were removed from the inventory for whatever reason without being voided. These sequences of 1, 2, or 10 numbers may be from printing errors, abandoned requests, and certificates that were issued improperly, or they could represent security paper that is walking out your door, a very serious problem. And the problem is there's no way of telling what happened there until the DCNs get reconciled. Now that you've found the DCN number to investigate on the security paper tracking report, now you need to figure out what was going on when that happened. And that's where the inventory control report comes in. Request the inventory control report by DCN and enter the number a few numbers before and after the number or range of numbers you're looking for. The inventory control report will tell you the subject of the record, type of record, and the date processed for all of the transactions above and below the ones that you're looking for. In other words, the inventory control report helps you find the application for the transaction where the error occurred. If the request number is on the application, you can search for the request that way. Otherwise, you'll have to look up the birth or death record and view the history to find the right request. Once you've located the electronic request, you can add a note or simply correct the request. If the DCN on the security paper tracking report is so old that you no longer have the applications to investigate, you will have to void the number with a note indicating your name, date, and delayed reconciliation process. This process can be tedious and time-consuming, when you have to look back on requests processed months ago. But once your office is caught up, reconciling is much faster and simpler. Let's look at how to do that now. Now, there it is. So from the customer service tab, go down to reports and print that security paper tracking report. Use today's date from and to today's date. The reason why we're doing that is we want the most up-to-date information, and the office that you work in, this is the train system, so everything in here is fictitious, and I don't mean to pick on Anoka. That's just the one that we're using today to demonstrate. And I'm selecting unused DCNs because that's what we're looking at. So I'll generate this report. And I just want to point out that, again, this is our training system. We've got a lot of goofy things in here, but hopefully you can see that. So this large number at the bottom is the inventory. Let's go up a line. And the reason why we're starting from the bottom is because that's the way your applications will be. Most likely, most recent is on top. So this would be the most recent, and then you go backwards in time to the first one that needs to be reconciled. So anyhow, we're going to look at this number right here. Look for that one. So I'm going to copy that number. And now I'm going to go to another report, the inventory control report. I'm going to search by DCN. So this is the number that we're looking for. This number is not in there. It's not been used, so it's not going to show up. We need to look at what happened before and after it to figure out what was going on. So let's go a couple of numbers before, and a few numbers after. Generate that inventory control report. Okay, so the number that we were looking for is the missing number. 332 is in between 331 and 33. And so if you were looking at this, you would notice the date. All of these are all on the same date. It's yesterday. And, you know, this is a way for you to keep track of who your troublemakers are, me in this case. And you could go back to the applications from the date that you're looking for. You could go back and search for those requests if you want. Oh, let's not do that. Sometimes you'll look at all of the transactions for that date and you'll see that a certain request is open. And then you can look at that. There's a lot of ways of looking at these things. The number that we were looking for, whoops, wrong report. It's right between Jingleheimer Schmidt and Dallas Cowboys. So let's see if we can find those transactions. Let's see if there's any notes on this one. No note there. Sometimes people will put a note on there. There's this at this point, I'm in the training system. I don't have any applications to show you. Hopefully you make notes when you mess up a piece of paper or something like that. But anyhow, this is how you look for those errors and find them. If something is open, then you just go into the request, view the request details, and you would go and send a proof of fulfillment, fill it again, open up that image and assign the DCN. Sometimes you have to make a note. A lot of ways of accounting for that security paper, but the main thing is to clean up your security paper tracking report. So assign the DCN when you can, void when you can't correct it, and add a note to each of them. The goal is to have that single set, or maybe your office assigns stacks of paper to different people. That's what this would look like, where there's a quantity, several different quantities of inventory. That's fine too, but however it is, so that you can account for all of your security paper. So again, let's review. Utilize MRNC to manage your security paper inventory. Keep that special paper locked up at all times and reconcile regularly so you and we know that your paper isn't walking out the door, and make sure that the reconciliation process is quick and easy. Resources, Help Desk is always there to help you with any questions you may have. Also, that website that I pointed out, and the email inbox if you prefer to contact us that way. Next month, during office hours on Wednesday, May 18th, we're going to talk about paternity and adoption. All of those processes for you. And before I turn it over to questions, I just want to make sure that we thank you for your time and attention and all of the stuff you do. Maria, were there any questions in chat?
We did have one, Sally.
Okay.
It's simple to go into the birth certificates to find which DCN was assigned, but they have not been able to do this with death certificates, at least those requested by a funeral home through MRNC.
Yes.
Wondering if you could share some insight into that, Sally.
Okay, those electronic death record requests are a bugger to find. And you actually can't go back to that request. If you can look through your invoices, and really the best thing to do in those situations, some offices use another system to track the funeral homes that they invoice, or those quantity records. If you use another system, that's easy. Otherwise, you're going back, looking at the dates of the other transactions that happened before and after the ones that you're missing, and going through those invoices for that day and seeing what's missing. That's really the best I have to offer you. I know those are really hard to reconcile.
Great question.
Anything else?
You can type questions in the chat, or if you're more comfortable, please unmute yourself and you can ask the question that way as well.
And